Go ahead.
Okay, welcome everyone to the Governance and Operations Committee meeting of April 8th, 2024. Just to remind everybody that members of the public can be present in the council committee room during this meeting. And please note that the webinar will also be recorded and published to the city's YouTube site. So first item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. And the recommendation is that the agenda for the Governance and Operations Committee be adopted. Councillor Martin, Councillor Benson.
Through the chair, I do have a late item to
Oh, okay.
add to number 4, grants and aid sponsorships. And it is a letter from the Saniax Confederacy requesting funds for their upcoming training session.
Okay,
So asking for that amendment.
so we can add that amendment to the agenda from Councillor Benson. Thank you. All those in favor of the amendment? Thank you. All those in favor of adoption of the agenda? Carried. Thank you. So, second item on the agenda is the operational reports, and the first one up will be the Parks and Recreation Department. And we have Acting Director Parks and Recreation, David Moorhead here.
Thanks, Chair Jones.
Thank you.
Thanks, Council and Mayor Jones for having me here today. I wanted to give you guys a little overview of the capital projects that this department put forward in 2023, and then give you a brief high-level look at our 5-year capital plan. And from that 5-year capital plan, I want to highlight a couple of projects that we are looking to complete in namely 24 and 2025. So the first project, as many of you are aware, and we're at the grand opening, was the kids rink replacement at our Trail Memorial Center. This upgrade is tallying at around $1,572,000 for the complete project. As just most of you are aware, the asset was at its end of life. It was built in 1953, which was putting it right at 7 years old when we had our grand reopening. The existing floor of this facility was sand. So the process for the operations of this ice rink was to freeze that sand to get a nice solid base, and then build your ice on top of that. So there was a bit of more maintenance that was required. And obviously the brine lines that were inside that sand were on wooden sleepers. So those required quite a bit of repair, as well as the wooden boards that were around it. One highlight of this project was during the process of this, the concrete slab being instituted, there was a decision made to move the ice slab to the other wall. And this was for a number of factors, but primarily it created a better flow for users as they were going to the benches rather than crossing through the Zamboni pit. Also at the TMC, the Trail Memorial Center, was a lot of structural repairs. So over the last few years and continuing in 2023, were improvements to our structural elements. So most notable are the window replacements that are ongoing. And as you can see from the ones last year, they were on the river side of the facility. And to alleviate any concerns with that beautiful mural on the riverside, we had a contractor that was able to match that mural. And so it didn't affect the light entry that much. So we'll look to continue that in coming years because there is further existing openings that can be utilized. Also of note is doors that are being replaced throughout the facility. A lot of our doors are old wooden construction that are part of the original building. So we just want to move them to more secure metal or in places where we can, glass structures. So in the curling rink, a nice 2 new glass doors were installed that are keeping with the theme of the clear glass and black trim. Also, just of note, as part of a structural assessment, we are completing repairs to the wooden rafters to provide some more structural strength. And part of our culture department in the Parks, Recreation and Culture is the Riverfront Center. one project that they completed last year was additional rolling shelf archives. So as you can see from the photo, it's those nice rolling style. And these were to incorporate the backlog of a number of collections, but most notably were West Kootenai Power and Light and the Tyler Kennedy's organizational records. So here's a highlight, or high level review of our 5-year capital plan. What we are requesting in 2024 is just over the 2 million mark for our department. Of note is 2025 and just over 7 million mark. And I'd like to highlight a couple of those projects for you moving forward. So a large one is the Trail Memorial Center Energy Recovery Project. So this is actually phased over 2 years, beginning in 2024 and moving into 2025. In 2024, it is split into 2 little projects, or not little, but 2 projects. One is the dehumidifier replacement that serves both the Cominco Arena, which is our main ice facility, and the curling rink. That dehumidifier is at end of life and undersized for those facilities, actually. So the one we are getting meets those requirements, but is also going to form part of this energy recovery project in its whole. So the first phase of the energy recovery is actually tying our kids rink slab under. So what we will be doing is our refrigeration plant generates a lot of heat in its normal operation. The goal of the project and put it back into our facilities through existing operations. So that in this year would be the curling rink, or sorry, the kids rink. As the kids rink stays in longer to mitigate any frost heaving in the ground below. Phase 2 in 2025, which is a large bulk of the funds, as you can see there, is connecting our existing HVAC and boiler systems to this new heat recovery system. So we will be capturing that heat and putting as much of it as we can into those systems, while also replacing 10 rooftop AC units in 2025. This aims to do 2 separate things. One is to reduce our greenhouse gases because we are capturing that and putting it back into our system, and also reducing our need for natural gas because these systems won't need to be called as often to do their job. Another one that we have earmarked for 2025 is the Cominco Arena ice replacement. So very similar in scope to the kids rink project that was completed in 2023. The same would be for the main ice. This ice surface is greater than 30 years of age and is starting to show it with some maintenance and operational issues with breaks in the brine lines that serve within the slab. Also of note are the wooden frame boards that are out of date and not particularly used in new facilities. So we'd be looking to update those to a better model. So in all, this one would be looking to remove the concrete slab, replace all of the underground piping, and replace that concrete slab and the boards. As of right now, that is assuming $2.5 million worth of budget in 2025. This is something to highlight for the Trail Aquatic and Leisure Center in coming years. This is slated for 2026, I believe, currently in our 5-year plan. And that is the replacement of the exterior cladding. So the cladding is original to the building, so as of this year, 28 years. The issue we are having, especially around the area with the pools within, is moisture wicking through the interior, moving to the exterior. Doesn't really have anywhere to go, so that'll continually freeze and thaw because of the warm air that is coming from the interior. So there is just places where it's starting to crack and show its age. That will be replaced with a different system, but have the same aesthetic. But just try to mitigate that freeze thaw concern moving forward. And as part of that, currently, that would be all new window replacements, which are currently, at the original to the building. And those are the highlights I have for you. If you have any questions, yes.
Two questions. What's a natatorium?
Natatorium, that is just the area with all the pools
Oh, okay.
within, yeah, so that is the part of the facility that carries the moisture due to the environment.
And then for 2025, the ice replacement, how long do you think that would take?
Tentatively, we would want to shut that down right around where it is now, so end of April, keeping in line with that. But there would be an expectation that to keep a comfortable project schedule, it would go into most likely October. Yeah, at the best case scenario right now.
Councillor Hanson, did you have a question?
Yeah, so as we're looking at the budget for the energy retrofit, just a reminder, so we're contributing how much, but how much is the federal government and the province contributing to that? I know
Yeah.
There's a request from us, but
Yeah.
you know, just to marry up where they're coming with it.
I'd have to get the figures, but I think it's up to 80% that is being covered through grants currently.
So we'll talk a bit further on that, because I'll go through quite a bit more detail with the numbers with you after the team is finished.
Okay, thank you. And yes, I was gonna ask the same thing as Councillor Benson about how much time down for the ice replacement.
Yeah.
About scheduling, timing, usage, kids, ice.
Yeah.
And how that is going to be analyzed with the kids hockey and whatnot.
Yes, so
Starting in October.
we would, if this was to proceed, the planning of it would be, a bulk of it would be in 2024. So user groups that are there would be well aware of what is happening. The only thing I can't comment on is the delineation of the refrigeration plants and what can and can't stay on at the same time. So there is a possibility that the kids rink plants may stay on a little bit longer. However, with the heat recovery project also taking place in 2025, or 2025, the expectation would be that both plants would be down for both upgrades. So it would be a heavy construction year within the facility.
So I have a quick question, about the windows.
Mhm.
I love the natural light that's coming in, it makes such a difference inside that building. Have we, been getting any more complaints about, you know, especially where the mural is? And we're taking off the windows and, yeah.
I haven't received any.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay,
so-
because it does look good.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Um,
really good.
that's why we did the 2 last year, just to gauge interest or concern.
Mhm.
But as of this year, I haven't received any concern yet.
Any plans to change the curling rink doors?
The exterior doors,
Yeah.
that is currently in the plan for our budget, our door replacements in 2024.
Okay,
Yeah, the Victoria Street one?
yes, yeah, that would just brighten it up in there too.
Yeah.
More sunlight in there.
So currently, it is the Victoria Street side ones that we are looking to do. There is also those ones that are just within before the lobby.
Yes, yeah.
Those aren't slated for this
No.
year, but those can remain open while they're
Yeah.
in operation. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
but yes, we are looking at those ones. this year.
oh, good, okay. Is there any other questions? No? And just wait for Ben to get back, I guess. Thank you, David. for your
Thank you for your time.
You did so well, you got nervous. That was bad timing.
Maybe I'll take the time just to hand it on.
Good idea, thank you. I did two of them.
Sorry, thank you.
That's okay. Thank God.
That's okay. I can give you done with it.
No, I can follow up.
Yeah. I'll have one.
Okay, so next on the agenda, we have the operational report from the Public Works Department. And today we have acting superintendent of grounds and roads, Ben Gresley Jones, to do the presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me here. So I'm gonna give a bit of an overview of where we are in 2024 with our ask from the public works side of things, as well as a brief overview of some of the projects that we completed in 2023 that you will all be aware of. So starting with the Butler Park lighting and netting project, this is a big undertaking. I believe the budget on this was $1.6 million at the time when it's started. Look at my notes on here. Sandy?
Mhm.
It's on full screen, but I can't see my notes in this. But from memory, okay, so, yeah, we started this in 2023. This was a replacement of the concrete poles that were failing. When they originally installed, they were meant for lighting only. Netting was applied to them at some point, which created a giant sail, so there was some structural issues that developed. Through that, we came up with this design. These are some of the construction photos at the time with the new conduit boxes, the poles in place, the equipment running the lines. This was a aerial photo we took shortly after the poles were installed. The netting is not on or the lights at that point. We haven't been back yet to take a new picture, but the field is close to completion at this point. There's still some improvements that are being made to the structure. Another point of note is the sign on the Butler Park has been removed and now the Jason Bay signage is added there as well. So we hope to have this work completed with the next few weeks and have that park up and running. Some public works improvements. We had a new truck, 950, which was a replacement for Unit 925, primarily used in West Trail. This was a custom built truck, and our public works purchasing superintendent wanted to just kind of, put some focus on the fact that we're having difficulty getting equipment. So this was something that was slated to come earlier, but we were in delays, and this just seems to be the new world we live in with difficulties in acquiring equipment. Another component that you see on the right-hand side there is an infrared heater. So we took one of our old half-ton pickup trucks and repurposed it with a new body for pothole patching. So our hope is that our crew is going to be able to go around and do some better fixes to the potholes throughout the winter with this heating and truck bed unit. Another public works improvement is our storage and bin facility. You've probably seen or probably saw slides last year from some of the other storage facilities that were improved. This is a 3-year project. Ultimately, the goal is to give us some storage areas of public works, tidy the yard up a bit, and just generally make the operation run smoother. I believe there's one more year in this project as far as the storage in that area. On the utility side, this was a 3-year project at the intake. In this, it was $100,000 project. This one came in under budget, around $74,000. This was pump number 1. I believe the other pumps 3 has already been started in last year's budget, with the hope that all 3 of them will be done through that 3-year phase. This is a project Dave can probably speak to better than I can. This was in his department at the time, the Queen Elizabeth Park Playground. I believe the budget on that one was about $92,000. And we finished this in 2024, early 2024, just due to late arrival of some of those components. Since that time, everything has been installed and we've made some minor improvements to the access to the park as well. It was a little outdated and we had some user groups that have made some comments about how we could improve that. We're still working to put in a few more benches and some updated garbage in that area, but from what we got from the public, they're pretty happy with the design and happy to see something in their backyard. And so this will be, like David kind of showing a high level overview of what we have in the next 5 years, looking forward. There's obviously a number of items in here that are broken down, which I expect Colin will speak more to. But some relatively big asks in there. In the facilities and buildings, there is work for the daycare center that still exists in there. We do have Daniel Street going forward this year, which is a fairly large number, including the retaining wall and drainage in those numbers. And then we have some other improvements looking forward for roofs on our structures, as well as other playground structures and quite a bit of equipment moving out to 2028. So that's all I have from Public Works for now, if there's any questions.
Well, I have a question. I mean, what's the big jump in the works yard from 24 to 25?
That would be a roof. That would be
A roof?
roofing.
Okay.
So we've got a number of items in there, like I say, hopefully Colin's intending to go through those. I didn't want to bombard you with a ton of
Okay.
numbers for each of
Yeah.
those, knowing that that would be coming. But we did have a roofing assessment done last year on 8 of our facilities. We've got another 8 being done this year as part of our insurance requirements. And from those reports, they've given us quotes on expectations of timelines and cost. So we built those into the 5-year projections.
Councilor Benson.
What is the RCMP for 2025, 2026?
2025 is a roof at the RCMP as well, yeah. There were a number of our roofs that are reaching end of life, and the cost is quite substantial.
Okay,
So that's a multi-roof on that building, so that's broken into 2 years.
Do we pay the entire portion of that, or is it shared with our regional district partners?
Yeah, we'll share, we'll get in the detail.
Okay.
No, it's good questions. We'll go over some of those things. It's a great
Thank
question.
you.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Beth.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there any other questions before we let these guys go?
And
I
again,
mean, you're welcome to stay,
exactly, you're
but
more than welcome to stay.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it might be helpful too if you stay for a bit because
Sure,
I
yeah,
just
oh, for
because
sure.
I might not get it right. So I need you guys to
Yeah, I got more numbers here. So.
Okay, so for council, I gave my then, Jess?
Well, I did have
Yes.
the OCP,
Okay, then I'll be quiet.
yeah, we'll do that one and then.
That's kinda-
Yeah, sorry.
I was
That'll
kind
be
of
done.
looking to see where you were.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next item up for discussion is the official community plan advisory committee, the terms of reference. And I will actually pass this over to Ms. Butler for discussion.
Thank you. We are actively looking at starting up our OCP discussions again. And the first thing that we need to do is to adopt a terms of reference and then fill up our advisory committee for that OCP planning, what do I want to call it? Exercise. So right now, what we're looking at timing wise is to formally adopt the terms of reference, advertise for members of the advisory committee. And we want to do that this spring. And then this summer, in collaboration with our consultant, we will start working on all the documentation and the advertising that we're going to put out to the public so that we can do public consultation. And then this fall, in September, heavily hit the process and hopefully have it done by the end of December. So that is our timeline right now. So what we are looking for today is to adopt that terms of reference and find out who wants to sit on the advisory committee of council and council.
So any questions or comments on the terms of reference before we make that motion? Councilor Benson?
The report that kind of fed into it, it said it was updated in January 2024, but I've noticed some things that are a bit outdated in it. Was it updated fully, do you know?
Apparently, there was a report, I believe, in November of 2023, and then you had discussions in December of 2023. And from those discussions, this is the January version of taking into consideration those updates.
But I believe, you know, when it was, the WSP, the individual was there, I did notice a couple of things, and so I asked for a couple of, I think just wording and date things that they have not updated. So if it's not in the new one, it's quite possible that we just haven't got a.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah, if that's what you're talking about.
yeah,
that's okay.
maybe. I can follow up with you.
Yes,
on
please,
that.
please do.
Okay, any other questions? So I think we'll do these separately, right? Yes, okay, so the recommendation that the committee recommend adoption of the official community plan committee terms of reference as presented. Is there someone to make that motion, please? Councillor Hanson, is there a seconder? Councillor Martin? All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And the second part of the recommendation is that the committee recommend the appointment of Councillor Hanson and Councillor Butler as the council representatives to the committee. Now, before we move forward with that, just wanted to say that in consideration of the new airport advisory committee with Councillor Hanson and Councillor Butler being appointed to that by council. And we also still need to appoint a council member and an alternate to the Abilities Awareness Committee. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody's getting an equal opportunity here. So we're also looking to see if there's anyone else interested in sitting on the OCP committee to help spread out the work and the number of meetings each of us are attending.
I actually would like to put my name forward. I know when we discussed it in November, it was right at the beginning of Silver City Days, and so my schedule was pretty packed, but just with the timing of this, I think it's something I could.
Okay.
You guys are interested.
And is there anyone else? Councilor
Yes,
Wilson?
even though I'm late and I apologize, but my committee schedule is somewhat free. And if, you know, if the room permits, I would like to put my name forward too for the OCP.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Councillor Hanson, are you still interested in being?
With my background in land use and development, I think it would be an asset to let my name stand in the OCP committee.
Sure. And Councillor Butler?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna need some guidance through here, Ms. Butler. We have 4 people that are.
I suggest to call for nominations from the floor first, and then vote on each one of those.
Okay, so we've done the call of nominations.
So I would ask that put them on the floor, those who.
Okay. So we have Councillor Benson, Councillor Wilson, Councillor Hanson, and Councillor Butler interested in these positions. So do we do it by a show of hands?
Yep.
Just be,
That's be just fine.
sorry,
That's just fine, yeah.
okay, and we'll do this alphabetically, I guess. Just to be fair. So Councillor, all those in favor of appointing Councillor Benson to the official community plan committee, please raise your hands.
Can I vote for myself?
You
I hope
could.
so.
Oh, can I? I don't know.
And Councillor Wilson, oh, sorry, no, we'll go to Councillor Butler. All those in favor of appointing Councillor Butler.
Jesus. Hello.
What's happening with our city? There's people doing drugs out in the street. There's like 30 of them. They're in all the parks. They're next to my building. They're next to my business,
Where's your business?
1318 Bay Avenue. What the hell are you guys doing? What's with this place?
We're happy to listen to you. This is Don.
Yeah, well, there's some shit going on.
Okay, we have no
Get
meeting
something
at
done.
6
I
o'clock.
got, get something done instead of sitting on your ass.
What's the name of your business?
1318 Bay Avenue, I'm Carl Cooper, 778-917-4146.
Okay.
Okay,
So what were we talking about?
just, I don't wanna throw a wrench into this. Were we expecting, for this committee, I think we want 3, because as soon as we go to 4 on council, we have, issue with it being a council meeting, do you not?
No, it is 2 people.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah.
It's the mayor and 2 council members.
Oh,
Yeah, so we have the mayor plus 2 council.
forgive me,
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention, obviously.
Okay, so sorry for that interruption, you guys. The next is Councillor Butler. All those in favor of appointing Councillor Butler to the official community plan committee? Okay. Councillor Hanson. All those in favor, Councillor Hanson.
Can we see a show of hands again,
Yeah.
please?
And Councillor Wilson. All those in favor, Councillor Wilson.
You guys don't make that easy.
It's
I think everybody would do a good job
They're all
on it.
gonna be good, but I can only pick 2, right? So,
Oh, we could.
well, you guys are raising your hand for everybody, so I'm like.
So now we have a tie for 4.
Okay, excuse me, I was this.
But we need.
Yeah.
I didn't know that we could only.
You
Okay.
voted for 2 only, right?
Yeah.
So,
that's right.
but, and I think that's where we've gone wrong, so, your worship, I would, suggest that, Councillor Hanson is a shoo-in with the 5, and that we re-vote on the other 3, so
Was Councillor Benson,
she was 4, everybody else was 4, so
oh,
I suggest we show a show of hands again.
Well, I would take my vote back for Bev, now that I know Tia's in.
Well, I think we need to call the questions again, so,
okay, Councillor Martin.
Sorry, I was confused because I thought that the 2 councillors Hanson and Butler were in and we needed another councillor to
Oh.
alternate.
no,
Okay,
no.
Can I still get some candies tonight at 6 o'clock?
my mistake. I apologize.
That's okay. So are we, show of hands? I would suggest Counselor, for Counselor Hanson, can we see that show of hands again, please? Sorry, can you please, because I got little flicks of hands and I can't see you. So we have 3?
Councillor Martin, are you?
I don't know, I'm just going.
So we're only voting for 2, correct?
We're only voting for 2 people,
Okay.
right? So the mayor sits on the committee regardless, so we're looking for 2 counselors to sit on this committee.
And does the mayor have a vote in?
Sorry?
Does the mayor have a vote in the?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we
Yes.
start with Bev and work through it again?
Yes, we can.
And only voting for 2.
Yes,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
can only vote twice.
So in your mind right now, pick the 2 that you want.
The 2 and then vote for those.
Only those people.
Thank you. Are you okay? if
I'm
I
glad you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Keep going. Okay, so we'll start with Counselor Benson. Show of hands, please. Thank you. Counselor Butler. Counselor Hanson, Counselor Hanson.
Okay.
And Counselor Wilson.
Lost all my votes. What happened to you guys?
So based on that, we have Counselor Benson and Counselor Butler.
Nice.
Sorry, with the second one?
Benson and Butler.
Benson, okay.
Nice.
No.
Yes. When I called for Counselor Hanson, I saw 3 hands.
I voted for
You
you.
voted?
I voted, you voted?
No, I voted for her that time around, because I was confused.
Sorry,
You
learned the
vote for
rules
two
this
people, though?
time around.
I voted for him.
And Mayor Jones, you voted as well, in favor?
I voted, yeah.
One,
Oh,
two,
so I didn't count you? I
Yeah.
missed you.
Okay, so
Sorry.
4.
Well, we can only vote twice, right?
Yes, that's what I was understood.
I voted for Counselor Benson. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Counselor Hanson.
Oh, so how did we get a 4 again?
You just come back to the staff document.
So now we're gonna go back to, sorry, I think our
Try
best,
one more time.
our best bet here then is to, if council's fine with it, we're down to Benson, Butler and Hanson, all tied at 4. So can we call the question on those again?
Okay.
Counselor Benson, show of hands.
For clarification,
Yes,
should we be going this far off of the published agenda?
it's,
Did we make
It's just a
motion to let the
recommendation.
mayor- I know, but you had staff recommendation in there already.
yes, and
We should be,
then,
we should be going through this according to, like, I mean, we could be changing things up on every single thing that staff is presented to council.
yes, but we had an amendment.
Did we vote on the amendment?
No, this is the amendment, trying to figure out who we're putting forward on that amendment. And it is a committee meeting, so this will be going forward to the regular at the next meeting for confirmation, so.
Should we just undo it through ballot?
I mean, we could do it through ballot. If you guys prefer to do it through ballot, we can do a quick ballot.
Sure, whatever is easiest.
It might be easiest. How about if we do the ballot, we'll do it at the end of the committee meeting,
After the, okay, sure.
and I'll go down and type that up. You okay, Sandy, to?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. So we'll recess this discussion and I'll go downstairs and do that.
Okay.
We can have
And
calls.
then we'll actually come back to it.
Yeah. I'll get Kim to do it. Okay.
Okay, Mr. McClure, you're up. Okay.
Yes.
Like in those workshops, we have to like have some things. Yeah, we should buy some clickers, get like at the AKBLG.
And the mini,
So next on the agenda is the 2024 capital expenditures budget. And I will pass it over to CAO McClure.
thank you, Mayor Jones, thank you, council. Was going to share my screen here. Had a handout, and so one of the things I would start off with, I know this is a focus on capital, but I just did want to have one sort of conversation about where we're at with operating, just based on where we left off last time, some tinkering that we went back and looked at, coupled with the fact that council provided some direction at the April 3rd meeting, and so kind of wanted to show council where we ended up. So if council is looking at their City of Trail operating budget 2023 to 2028, April 8th, 2024 should be in the left-hand corner. And just a few things. One, that when we met last, and you can see under column AT, row 10 and row 12, last time I had my linking incorrect on my spreadsheet, so it was showing some discrepancies, but we've got that fixed, and so you can see that again, taxations were collected at basically what was budgeted, and of course, other revenue, we've been successful in that, and so that's one that I wanted to point out to council. The things that we worked on or for 2024 budget, council may remember that there was some asks for some additional safety overall. There was the 13,000 for 2024 for the trail market, Incredible Farmers Market. There was a request for the 25,000 for CIP, Communities in Bloom. So not CIB, I should say, Communities in Bloom. And then there was another request that is totally not remembering. And So council approved those, and then on top of that, they approved the $43,000 in additional economic development funding for 2024. So those numbers are now all in this particular budget, and you can see down at the bottom, we're at 0. Now, a couple of factors here. One is that I bumped up under row 15 for 2024. Again, column 18, there you can see moved up $20,000 in interest income, just based on kind of what's happening there. The other pieces that we went through, some of the emissions inside the Trail and Aquatic Leisure Center, you wouldn't see that per se, but it's inside the sales of services. Those numbers also increased over the prior year, just based on current year's results of 2023. And then you'll notice that use of surplus, in the same way that last year we balanced using 91,000. You can see this year we're using 100,603. Now inside that was the 50,000, which we had down below there under row 100, that this is sort of a council special projects. If something comes along, you've got a way inside the budget to know that you can tackle something. So there was 50,000 there. We were using the budget, the surplus from that. And then in other words, to balance out all of the other requests that we had, that's where the other 53,000 is coming from in 2024. So that's why we're using 100,603 under line row 19 AT. So again, that gets us for council 4.25 tax increase, and we're balanced as it is right now. So again, I didn't want to be presumptuous on this, but I know that we had worked through this a number of times. And so again, this includes, as I noted, the economic development. Sorry, it's escaping me what, I'll tell you right now what the other item is. Oh, but I forget that. We added an extra 25,000 to Silver City, guys.
How can you forget that?
I don't know. I had another wildlife accident last night.
Oh, gosh.
I did, yes. Not nearly as bad, but I did. So, I'm a bit scattered today.
Okay, forgiven.
Yes. So, based on this, I just wanted to see, if council's comfortable with the 4.25, as we discussed before, and we've got all of the items that were sort of requested and economic development. It allows me to move forward on kind of creating the financial plan bylaw and, or sorry, I should say the tax rate bylaw for that. So, okay, not seeing anybody jumping up and down and saying no, so I'm gonna move on to my next group of documents. So the next group of documents is this one here. It's kind of a new style for council, but I think it's something that we'll get familiar with and will allow us to sort of not only look at what sort of transpired in 2023, kind of what was the budget, what's the actuals, but then what's 2024, and it looks you out into 2028 on a bit more detailed pattern. And again, this will flow into when we're done seeing how much capital we're trying to fund. We'll also look at where it's coming from. So the reserve balances, again, those documents are all attached with you today. So a couple things on information services, not, again, timing wise, not a lot got completed as far as the actual equipment arriving here. It has all arrived here in the last last couple of months, not only the desktops and the phones, and again, now we've got the bigger project as council approved as a award was the $360,000, which is under row 7 there, and that's for the disaster recovery center and our other networks. Again, as you can see, as it goes out, you can see the different patterns of, replacement and what we're doing with our equipment as it goes out there. When you look at row 43, and this will be a pretty common theme as we do this, is that this is one that basically wholly was reliant on the capital projects reserve. So again, it's one that we have, council provides a big fund. That was what we looked in that last one. We're up to over 3 million that we take out of taxation and put into that reserve every year. And so that's towards our capital. And then of course, whatever grants we get, you'll see those in the blue lines as we go through this, kind of where the funding sources come from. Again, this particular one is totally reliant at this point in time on the capital projects reserve. When we go down to buildings and facilities, couple of items there. We had the Unicorn Daycare, which is still on the books and slowly moving through. We have a design that is affordable. The bigger challenge for us is where do we have for the operator? And that's one of the things that we've been trying to work through before we commit to undertaking such a project. Again, the design is within the $2.5 million, which we received from the province. And you can see that the million here and 1.5 is sort of an estimate. If we were to get into this is how it would break out. As Mr. Jones, Mr. Jones spoke about today, row 110 is the roof work. So we have gone out, and I expect to see more of this as the team builds and goes out and gets master plan, whether or not you'll see a few other spots in here where we've got master plans, and master plans don't usually tend to say, oh, hey, everything's perfect and you don't have to do anything. They tend to show up with, hey, we need requests for more money. And this one here, the work that was done showed about some of the roof work that we need to get done. And that's where those ones are sort of slotted in. Special projects. This is a combined, the big one for this year is a portion of funding that related to the growth fund that we received from the province. So again, I'm plugging in some money on special projects for $2 million. You'll notice down under the provincial grant funding, you'll see 3 million. That's because we have the $1 million from daycare and then the $2 million for special projects. We haven't completely defined what the special projects are, but as I'm working through the budget, this is where making sure it's inside. So if we go to do something, it's like, yes, we've got that money budgeted and it's in the 5-year financial plan. The ongoing other piece there was to try to look at doing some improvements to our closed caption TV network through the downtown and different areas in our buildings. And so we've kind of got an ongoing 5-year plan there of about 60,000 that's sitting into that special project. It's kind of where I thought it fit. Here's down to what Councillor Cashel talked about was the RCMP. Again, in some cases, they fund capital. Things like the gun storage case, that was not something that was funded by the province, but it's something that was, again, as an ask of the city. However, if you do look out into the 2025 and 2026 year, you see that roof replacement that's over 2 years. And you'll notice down below under row 132 and 133, there's about a 40% sharing ratio on that. And then, so again, remembering that's our RDKB partners, and it's also the province itself funding for the fact that trail detachment, but out of that operations, they go to Fruitvale, Montrose, Warfield, and Rosslyn. So again, that sort of complement of what they have for their employees is how that ratio is broken down, and then the expenses are allotted that way. Yes.
So the 126 is then our portion,
No, so.
that's the total,
Yes.
and then it will be broken down from there.
No, so again, apologize. So if you look at row 132, 133.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Yes, okay, so RCMP capital funding, so I was trying to indicate that's their 40% portion.
Okay.
126, and then capital projects reserve, again, you're gonna see that a lot. This is where our funding source is, and that's where you get our portion, so
Okay, our portion is the
is the 180.
180.
Yes.
Thanks for the clarification.
The cemetery, this is one that gets funded through RDKB, so we, again, regional cemetery, so the partners come together and figure out what the capital and the operating budget is going to be. City of Trail is the operator, the one that takes care of day-to-day operations plus any capital projects. That's under the grounds and road superintendent's role. You can see here, we've had a few carryovers of a few items, which isn't uncommon in us just try to deal with contractors being busy. And so you see that we've got a couple of asks going on. One thing for me that I'm actually kind of hoping is the water system. We did have a look at it before, especially with the city of Rosslyn having their own challenges with water. They're increasing their fees significantly. The question sort of came to mind was, if we were to dig a well, then, we're taking non-potable water, because that's the other challenge sometimes, is that you've got everyone wants to see the cemetery in a place that it's green and it's attractive and a place where you can go and have your time with your loved ones. And so when we hit water restrictions, which I think we're going to hit water restrictions, or maybe already have hit water restrictions even now, sort of thing as we go through things. But as that goes into the summer, it makes it very difficult. We did look at some engineering, whether or not we could we build like a little reservoir? Could we build almost a few different ways of trying to tackle either holding on to water that we would either pull out of the ground, or would we be able to fill up at different times. I think in case of the structure that the payment structure that Roslyn has, so the more you use, but you kind of had almost a daily thing to kind of fill up the reservoir. Is there a way to sort of delay and use the water in a more efficient way? So those are some of the things that we're gonna talk about and see where we could take that pressure off of Roslyn and off of the cemetery going forward on, could we provide a better water system for it? Okay. So go on to page 2. So I met with the airport manager, Mr. Morelli, and a couple of things for him is that we have a couple of small items for the aviation fuel tank upgrades. So he's got those asks that are in there. You can notice that's kind of your capital projects reserve. But what he's really hoping for is 2025, which will be a driver for ongoing, but it's to get a master plan done. And also landscaping. This year, we're going to sort of do a what we can with landscaping, with again, the goal of getting a proper update to the landscaping system. The one part that the manager was clear is that BCAP, they will fund up to probably 25,000 for the airport master plan, and then a portion thereof of the landscaping. So you kind of notice that we've got some monies sitting there under the BCAP air access program, and then the capital projects reserve is where the other funding would come from. Now, again, to be clear, once we get the master plan, likelihood is that number of years out there is gonna be, we need this, we need that, but that's part of, again, the new regional the airport committee there is to sort of see how can we find grant funding, because it is available not only in their BCAP, but there's also ACAP. And forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but one of the things that I found quite fascinating in meeting with the investigators that come in and check airports is that I guess, federally, they used to own all the airports, and then they gave them over to municipalities, but then they provided a big fund to be able to allow, and that's why there's an ability for airports to kind of get funding for their airport improvements through that. So I would expect that once we get the master plan done, or even as we get into 2025, we'll be starting to say, hey, we need to do this as an apron, or we need to do an extension, or we need to do other things. But right now, here's where he was at until the master plan is kind of complete. He's feeling that this is what he's at for 2024. It was important, council would remember that we did apply for the BCAP grant to do the tree cutting. I had put that into operation, so it's one of the things that would have been in the previous operating budget, where grants increased by the 19,000, and then also the cost of doing the work in the budget for the airport in 2024. So that was successful, and that work's been done, so we're dealing through that. Transportation capital, you can see a few items in here. In a bit of been doing some designing, and again, when you do the designs, you usually find out that there's going to be bigger costs later. And as you noted, just even sort of the intersection improvements at Second and Gopal, we had the engineering kind of work done, and then it's like not probably something we're going to do this year, but we are looking into 2025 at pretty big ask on getting that figured out. Got continuation of some more engineering work that's to be done. The streetlight decorations is a carry forward from the previous year. You will notice that under row 187. The groutage improvements, as I was looking through the numbers, it wasn't adding up for me, so I went and sat down, and I believe now this has kind of got the proper number that we need for groutage improvements under this category. To be clear, that's where under row 203, we've got $500,000 for the CBT funding. So I wasn't quite sure when last year's budget was done, how exactly it was adding up, but this is my estimation right now as I look through what the contract is with Norwest and where we're kind of ending up. The Bengay road improvements. So I put that in there, but I put a big question mark on it because I think we all know the road from Bengay and Bingay, right? Bingay. Yeah, sorry, I've got Bengay. Sorry, should be a B-I-N. Sorry, Bingay. Kind of an unknown. Certainly we might say, well, hey, there's a lot of vehicles heavy trucks that use that are not sort of municipal tour oriented, but one of the risks of saying, well, hey, is there any way to help us with some repairs that need to be done on this road? And then they say, hey, well, if you don't like it because of our big trucks, maybe we'll not have that as a public access road, which is one of the risks that we have, but we want to work with our partners. Councilor Butler?
And Gary Road is owned by the city,
Yes.
not by our partner.
No, my point being that if it's a case of saying, hey, you know, what are we going to do with it, or how are we going to treat it? It's just, how do we work with our partner? Because I mean, in most cases, the vehicle traffic is the regular pickup truck and cars are not the one that is putting the damage on the road. So it is, it's good, we kind of recognize that it could be a bit of a tricky conversation. Highway drive-in sidewalk tie-in, so we know that, highway drive sidewalk tie-in, I should say, so it's a project for the year. We also got some sidewalk on multiple letdowns. That was part of the active transportation program that council would have maybe got the tap on, or informed them last year. And so this is again, always making sure that, you know, the strollers, the bikes, the different people that are walking, having the letdowns on the curbs is important. So we've got 2 years sort of lined up for those. Highway 3B collector paving improvements. There's some funding there so that we're able to do that work. Daniel Street sidewalk, again, some asks in there, again, in 25 and 26, and then the Glover Road sidewalk. So again, as much as we've been doing the Glover Road sidewalk engineering, you can see that the cost of taking that project is significant. And so again, where my focus always is for council is that we look at what we can do this year, not uncommon to kind of be at the buffet and say, we're gonna get all of these things done. But as you can see in the previous year, depending on what happens, we don't necessarily get all the things done. Kind of already had some other ones that we're backing up. We've got this huge Daniel Street project that, you know, retaining wall will have to deal with as well. So we'll see how things go, but we'll want to make sure that we're really focused on what we can do in 2024. And then as you get into 25, it's a bit better, but as you get into 26, 27, 28, these are all sort of placeholders and finding out kind of what's happening at the city. And are these the priorities when we get to those years? Not sure, but we need to kind of put them in front of council. Again, you can see that on this one, capital projects reserve is the one that's leaned on, especially as you look in the outer years. Current year, not too bad because we have that CBT grant funding for the missing link that CBT was kind enough to provide us. Storm sewer work. Yes.
Just one question about transportation.
Yes.
Should we put Riverside Ave on there just to, I don't know, get it on our radar as far as with the new shelter going on out there?
And when you say that, meaning that there's kind of expectations that the city has to make some improvements, or?
It seems like that issue did come up quite a bit with the condition of the road, the condition of the sidewalk,
Yeah.
the size of the road. I don't know, maybe if we had it on our radar.
Yeah, and I think it's on its radar, and there's another key point is, because we still don't know where that is at in progress.
For sure.
But one of the things I would say, and to be clear for council, no matter if it's the operating budget or the capital budget, if something like that comes along, you know, we just have to have this done for May 15th, for the province, or
Okay,
as part of the
so
5-year plan. So say we got into and said, hey, July, we need to find X amount of dollars, we may say, hey, we're not gonna do this one or this one, and we're gonna do that one. Those are all pieces of the puzzle that we can do.
We can add to it.
We can add to it, right? And all you have to do is do a financial plan amendment, very, very common, not hard to do. So again, never think that, oh my goodness, I don't see my project in here, or we're not gonna get all to this. We can always alter the budget. It's just about making sure that the 5-year financial plan is into the province by the 15th of May. So,
Thank you.
okay. Storm sewer, you can see, again, on the groutage side, we've got some work done there. It's continuing. Storm sewer, we've got some money in there for Dudney. And the one thing that I will note is that under 2012 storm sewer Daniel Street, I was getting a bit confused because we seem to have a habit of putting, you know, maybe it's one capital project, we put in like 5 different areas, and I said, hey, can you guys mind if we put Daniel Street just in one line so that we can all kind of see, here's what the operating cost is, and we can be able to compare it by itself when we get to the end of the year. So you'll notice that it's not like there was not doing any more storm sewer work on Daniel Street, it's just now gonna be plunked down into the road 231 for the retaining walls there. And then you'll notice that we've got some other, kind of some big work, the 200 block of Bin Street, and then some Trail Creek culvert repairs, and we've got some budgets in the 2025 for that. As we've noted and discussed and council's approved, we kind of have the retaining wall. We have Daniel Street, obviously that's the major operating capital, but it is also a utility one. So we're doing storm sewer, water, and sewer, yes, storm sewer, yeah, sanitary in there. So again, what you're seeing here on that 2.1 is obviously not the whole amount, because we did divvy out the portion that has to go to water and sewer. So you're looking here at what the operating portion of the funding is. And again, as you note, under, puts a lot of pressure, as we talked about, but, under row 238, capital projects reserve is what, is funding this, so that puts a lot of pressure on that reserve. I know that, Mr. Jones did speak to the material storage bins. We, had some success last year, and we've got a number of years of completion on that. We've got the Public Works Facility Structure Review, again, bridging over 2 years, so we've got your carry forward into 2024. The important piece of this is that there's a number of buildings that have been there, whether or not it's the lean-to for the Chef, the Carpenter Chef, there's a number of buildings there, so the part of the review is to kind of find out what's happening and what needs to go, what's end of life, what can we do? So we're waiting upon that document, and I think it will speak to what we need to budget for the future. And same sort of idea as the master plan, green fleet down below. That we have climate action funding that comes along, so that work, we can use that grant for that. So that's again something that we get annually from the province, is the climate action funding, which is row 258. And that's to fund things like the green fleet master plan and other items. And again, the carpenter shop roof, 200,000, it's in there, and that's pushed out into 2025. Again, part of that will, I think, be looked at as we go through next year's budget, once we get the Public Works Facility Structure Review going. So will it stay there, or will it get moved out, or does it get set up? We'll find out. So an important document here for us is just the tools that we provide our staff with. We want to make sure that they've got the best equipment that we can have for them. You can see in 2023, as noted before, we did have a pickup replacement, going with the hybrid, and we had the plow dump truck, which I think had finally come in, but had been budgeted a couple of years earlier. And we've got some other mobile equipment. And the ride-on trimmer, again, wasn't purchased this year. You can see it's been pushed into 2024, same as the mobile equipment attachments that we did not purchase, or sort of that plus minus column there in 2023. We're looking at a wheeled excavator. Part of that is that we're really finding that the backhoe one, twofold. One is that with the wheeled excavator, we can get a deeper dig with that. We're noticing with the backhoe and certain of our tools, we can't get down deep enough, and finding that many of our utility works that we do, it's just not, we don't have enough depth on the reach on that. And the other part is the fact that it's wheeled. We've also noted that it can go and be sort of taken quickly up to like the Trail Creek. When we're in kind of flood watch, you'll be able to have that there. It's not like a tractor having to be floated there. It can be driven there. And so that hopefully also will allow us not to have a piece of equipment on standby, because that's sort of what has been a big cost for the city in the past. I mean, understandably so, we don't know what's going to come down that Trail Creek, if we don't want to ever have another type of situation we had before. But it is expensive to have another vendor's piece of equipment sitting there, not doing anything. Well, of course, it's not doing anything. He wants to be compensated for it. So this is one of the things that we think that will be helpful for the overall budget in getting this excavator, coupled with the fact that we will be able to extend the depth that we can dig. And then that also means that we're not having to go out to another contractor who has a larger machine.
And are all of like the crews already trained on these type of equipment? Like, is there any different training they've done for the wheeled excavator?
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know if anyone, the two of you would say that they're.
It'd be a little bit different with the wheel loader compared to the track.
Okay.
But slightly, the controls for the actual operation would be quite similar.
When we rent them before, is it our crews operating them?
So we're not actually we haven't rented a wheel loader.
Oh, okay,
That's the only difference. It's just slightly larger
okay,
piece of equipment.
gotcha.
And again, council, I think to be clear, so what we usually is having to
Just
get,
kind of on,
get the machine and someone providing a machine and an operator.
Right.
So it's not hey, can we have your machine and we'll use our operator? It's
Right.
mostly,
okay,
we're having the cost of both. We've got one big request kind of end of life is the large field mower. So it's not the one that is a bit of a ride-off trimmer, but usually you'd see them have the big flop out for the blades and that sort of thing. So ours is end of life. So we're looking at getting one of those for 2024. And again, you can start to see the map out there that we're again, working with our team on what piece of equipment is up and, what needs to be replaced. Looking through some of the pickup trucks, some that fit on having the hybrid, you can see the hybrid is more expensive, and then that also speaks to our master reading of our master plan. But again, I like the thought process of our public purchasing, in the sense that if you get like the tandem hook trucks, you're getting a truck that's not just one piece of equipment. It's like if it's got a dump on it, then that's it. If you can use a hook truck, then a lot of times you can have flatbed, you can do different pieces of, add different pieces of equipment, but you've got the same machine. Because that's one of the things that's very common in municipalities, is that you have a sidewalk plow. But it only gets used for 3 or 4 months, and then it sits out in the sun or sits out there for the other 9 months, and that's never good for equipment. So sometimes it's better to invest in a machine that may cut some grass, be a sidewalk plow, maybe be used with the sweeper to be able to do tight corners and that sort of thing. So again, that sort of thinking of how do we do the best with our piece of equipment, make sure that it's utilized as many months of the year. Now, this one here, you can notice that it's funded fully under row 295 from the equipment replacement reserve. Look at that, and council had noted that we had noted that we increased that allocation of the equipment reserve, because as we're seeing, equipment is much more expensive when you look back at even the disposal on the plow dump truck that we just received. Again, I get that it was, I think, 10 or 11 years old, but it was half the price when we originally purchased that equipment that it replaced. So that's a significant cost for increase in inflationary costs for vehicles. Okay, you had sort of a highlight today on some of the projects that we're doing at TMC. Some pretty significant work going on over the next couple of years, and city has been quite successful in getting grant funding, which I think is pretty fantastic, but it's still expensive. And it still means that the equipment capital projects reserve is funding significant portions of that. Again, a couple of items there, you can see the kids rink was significantly over budget, and so that puts some pressure on the overall capital reserve. And as we talked about earlier, as we get in the year, there may be a request as we close out the audit of saying, hey, it looks like we're gonna have a surplus. We talked about putting some money into the water fund. I would suggest to you, if we've got a surplus, this might be another place to put some money into the general capital budget. Again, we'll see some of those numbers when we look at the reserve later, but you kind of see the effect of some of the major projects. Again, having the kids rink boards and rink updated, having the HVAC recovery project is hugely significant, and then having the Kimiko Arena boards. And again, you have to remember, these are items that have not changed in 70+ years. So it's consequences.
Was there anything from the kids rink, if they did a lessons learned at the end of it, that we could carry into like the main rink replacement that we learned for how it went over budget?
Well, I think maybe just trust on who was managing that they would come forward when there's change orders,
Okay.
that they're upfront and speak to staff, and then that could be passed on to council.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's.
But nothing in terms, like surprises in terms of.
It was just a surprise that there was a change order.
Okay.
That was one
Okay.
that, should have been communicated. And as far as that goes, is just the CAO pleading with his managers that if they have a challenge or if something's going on that they are having an issue with, that they would raise that with the CAO, and then that can come to council and can be discussed. So, yeah. Any questions on just the equipment we have and kind of the process we have for funding it? No. I will note, sorry, on this one here for the TMC, the Memorial Lounge and third floor renovation, because they're out in 2027, 2028, you'll notice under row 329, I did put in some grants, because my opinion is that it's unlikely that this project's going to move forward as it is through the capital reserve. If it does, I mean, we're gonna have to be asking for a lot more money from council to be able to do that. But there was certainly a hope when we did the original design or looking at what we could do, is that there would be grants available to do this types of work. So that will be our hope as we go forward on that.
So a question on the donations,
Yes.
that's a big amount of money that we're
we're
Looking for.
hoping for, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
I just like to note that I'm really excited that there's a line item, not for a couple of years, but for a walking track at the Memorial Center. I know that there's a lot of people that would love to see a walking track up there. And in my opinion, if there is any chance to do it sooner and put it in the budget sooner, then I think we should definitely look at that for an indoor outdoor, especially with air quality concerns.
Yes.
Fire seasons, all of that. I think it'd be really great to have that for people to be safe, secure inside when the weather's not as conducive to being outside.
Couldn't agree with you more. And again, as we talk about these things being placeholders of where they're at, because we're trying to focus on what's happening for 2024. I truly believe too, that when I see some of the active transportation grants that are out there, part of it is that we've been in a real place of flux with our managers, and it hasn't been sort of, here's a plan, and if someone looked at that and said, hey, it's not uncommon for some, for the grant funding system to open up and say, hey, look, you can do this with this, but it's not just for letdowns, or it's not just for a bike pass, but it is going to be things like, hey, what do you have available for, we have situations where we could have a really smoky summer here. What do you have available to allow your individuals to stay active, have active transportation type of things, and, have cleaner air type thing. So I can see that being something that, as we go through the priorities, and it's good that you noted that as well, but we'll definitely, as you can see, there's a lot of projects on here. So sometimes it's a bit overwhelming, I think.
It's on the horizon.
Absolutely. Well, but it's a great point that I believe that if someone's, here's that when they, like I said, when the grant ending will come forward and say, here's what you can use it for, that will be something in our back of our mind. Hey, this is something for indoor, because of, I don't doubt that we'll see things like that. Because a lot of times people say, well, go out to the mall. Well, yes, okay, it's a mall, but it's not uncommon to have those types of tracks. I know that Nelson has one in their little concourse as well.
A lot of municipal or recreation centers have them.
Okay, and not nearly, much newer building, but still needs some love, the aquatic center. And other than that kind of building envelope remediation, which is looking at a 2027 kind of timeframe, but again, doing the envelope assessment is what's kind of going on right now. Again, one of those ones that we had bridging 1 year over another. And you can see that once that comes out, that'll give the opportunity to figure out how much it's going to cost, what's our Class A estimate, where are we going for that, when preparing for being able to fund that work. There's a couple of cool things in here as well that's sort of an ask, like any of those that are in 2025, but the climbing wall feature. It's one of the things we haven't had. I guess there used to be a drop of doom here, and people survived that, but now we're looking at a climbing wall feature. Again, the idea with the climbing wall kind of leaning up over the pool, and so if you do fall, you're landing in the pool. That's so right. It's
That's fun.
well,
Is that true?
well, this is why it's on there. and so-
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's where it's gonna go? That's where it's gonna go?
Yes, so that's it. Yes. that would
Well, I
be-
figured it was in, but I didn't know where it was.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is the.
Oh,
goal.
that's awesome.
Yes, yeah. So, and again, too, we talked about earlier, the other thing that's kind of out a bit there in 2027 is the water slide replacement. These things are not inexpensive. And then, as you can see in line 340, kind of almost every year, whether it's new pumps, the aquatic system is very caustic with the chlorine and other things, and it eats a lot of things. So again, you can see we've got ongoing improvements for the system, and yeah. Again, at this point in time, you can see the capital project reserve is the one that's continuing to fund this. And then last but not least is sort of the parks. And again, we got a few. We saw the photo of the nice work that's been done on cleaning playground equipment. However, that all happened in January, so the budget was in 2023, but we just rolled it over to 2024. Now the work's done, so that'll get populated as we go through. Butler Park, lighting, netting, dugouts. The dugouts are just getting completed. That's why we've got a bit of leftover budget in 2024. And it looks pretty fantastic, and it's gonna be something else once we get it finished. The Butler Park tennis court, we've got that. It's gonna carry over for a couple of years. We'll note that the Jason Base signage, the 365 there, we've got a budget of row 365, I should say. You can see we've got 20,000 to kind of finalize. As you see, it's in place. I will note that under row 393 that there's a donation of 16,000, so that came from the individuals that were responsible for getting Jason Bay going. So it's kind of let you know that there's a significant portion of that final work has been funded through that. We hopefully very excited. The Riverfront Center is hoping to do major project this year, and it's the Trail Times digitization, and there's a real hope that we're going to get that significantly grant funded to take that pressure off. So there'll be a few dollars asked from the city, but overall, the hope is there is that we will get that funded through grants. Butler Park grandstand upgrade. So you get the lights and the field, and now we've got some other love that needs to go on the building, and you can see we've got those budgeted in the current year. And the same way that, you know, sort of trying to update our playground equipment, you'll notice that Daniel Street playground equipment, we have a budget in 2024 for that. Bear bins, yeah, I think it's an important feature for us, and so we've got that, and the goal being that they will be you know, parked not only in Gyro, but also downtown. So you did have some chats, and we had, they were just chats at this point in time, but, you know, can we wrap them might be a future thing, so they're not just this kind of green sort of bin, but who knows what that, you know, in line with, I think, the work that we've done with the banners and those kind of things, there'll be some conversations on, you know, in the future, how can we make them look a little bit better than just being garbage cans? But right now, the goal is just to have the bear bin ones and get them in place, get us bear smart. Again, field house and just general park, you can see there's always something, whether or not it's some work on a washroom or fencing, and again, field house equipment, looking at trying to get some foldable soccer nets, because the ones that we have they don't fold and it takes up a lot of storage room, and so trying to work with that. I will note that, like, the field house interior exterior improvements, you can see they go out. 2027 is the actual floor itself. And we know that we do a sharing ratio with school district 20. You can see that on a row 392. We don't fund everything, but my hope is that we're going to get that type of work done, that we're really hoping that MSI partners will come and join us in funding that. Another one that's an interesting one, and again, I don't know what grant funding would available. I know that track and field has had a bit of an uptick, and we've got Olympics coming, but the Haley Park track itself, sometimes it would be one of those questions on usage, you know, is it, you want to have a rubberized track because that's the best thing, you know, but it's very expensive to maintain, and if it's not being used a lot, there is some questions there on whether, and we've got it as a placeholder a number of years out, but it's just, again, one of those items that is on the radar, and we want to, you know, put it in front of you. Again, you can see that under row 376, we've got Gyro Park master plan, and from there, obviously, we'll spin off kind of where we've got some placeholders for spray park work to kind of keep it going, but what will come out of that, we're not quite sure. And then one thing I think that's important is row 375 with the Lower Sunningdale washroom. Idea being that have a lot of soccer going on there now. If you don't have a washroom in that particular park, I believe, and so I plugged in some CBT grant funding down below to get that, because they have been something that they've helped out with on those sorts of things. So again, you'll notice that's 2025. We've got a lot on the plate for 2024, but those will be discussions that we're always having, and just seeing, you know, how can we tackle that. So at the end of down at the very bottom here, row 430. Again, we're not too surprised. 2023, we were expecting, you know, 9.2 million. We're not quite half, you know, we know we're, and then you can see now we're 8.18 in 2024, and then another big one, obviously, 11 million or almost 12 million in 2025. But again, remembering that it has to do with the boards and the bigger part of the HVAC heat recovery program. So don't know. I know that there's a lot of detail, you guys have this now. The idea will be is that we will bring this forward next year, kind of find out where we're at, kind of show, you know, don't be surprised, like, hey, something got shuffled forward, or something got shuffled out, or there's something new, and we'll have to have that discussion.
Okay.
So, the next one for me is being able to show them. Sorry, oh, no, again, too, I don't, you guys are willing to stick around, I have a couple more slides, you want? Yeah, yes, sure, yeah, please, thanks, guys. Need to do that, so I can't seem to get it behind the, to my. There we go, okay, so, in the same way we talked about, I think it's page 3 of your document that has the of the 5-year capital, just kind of showing you how it works as mathematically. So yes, it's page 3, kind of talking about the vehicles on your project, but then here's the reserve side. So it's one thing to say, okay, how much money do we have in reserve? How are we gonna pay for all of this equipment? And you can see where we're sitting in 2023, what we expected to purchase, wasn't successful in all of the purchases, but you can see that with some better interest income earnings that we had in 2023, that as we purchase those items, you can see our carry forward balance going from 2023 to 2024, opening balance is 8.3 million. Then we've got this additional reserve allocation. And then sort of here's the capital expenditures. And as you can see, as it goes through, you know, and this isn't always going to be perfect, but we stay at a pretty healthy balance as we fund. And that's kind of what you want. You want to be able to keep this funded ongoing so that we're all able to upgrade our equipment as it comes up and still have a good healthy balance. Yeah, a little bit of pressure in 2028, but there's some bigger purchases in 2027. And I think that as we get that next allocation into 2029, that will sure allow it to build up again. Just wanted you to know that where's this funding from? How are we paying for this? Council provides that operating grant and then it's sort of a moving reserve from there up and down. Okay. Yes.
And remind me that we have to upgrade equipment for insurance purposes every so often, or is it like?
It's not that, it's just end of life. Right, so as soon as you get a piece of equipment with 20,000 hours on or 80,000 hours, it's more time in a repair shop than it is.
Being cognizant.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
What, you know, some pieces of equipment are good and they last a long time, some are lemons the first time we buy them,
Yeah.
and they spend more time in the shops than they do on the street, right?
Well, and that's great, because that's even when we talk about that larger.
The wheel loader, actually,
No,
excavator.
sorry, no, the grass cutter. The mower, sorry. It shouldn't be as end of life as it is, but it gets beat up pretty big because of the big, huge amounts of areas that we cover with it, and we've also been driving it. So again, sort of change of mentality, get something new, but also looking at a trailer with that so that we can now trailer to the location, not driving it X and driving it back. And that's something, so again, sort of all the things that you're talking about, that's end of life. And when you look back on it, it's like, yeah, probably wasn't the best idea to trailer it out there. But these are the sorts of conversations that the managers are having, saying, okay, we want to have this, how do we improve or extend the quality of its life? And again, you're right, sometimes you get a loader and you get two in 2 different years and one is worse than the other. And you know what, better to let this one go and maybe we'll get that one replaced sooner and the other one, you know, stays healthy or is better improved. So it's a great question, but that's, again, the bigger part, I think, and what shout out for council is that providing that funding allows us to plan for that and allows the managers to know, hey, what's happening with the piece of equipment? Hey, we need to be able to replace this one. This is what's happening, being able to switch it around in the schedule if it so needs. But knowing that you've got funding to be able to get that new piece of equipment is extremely valuable. And it's extremely valuable for our staff to have the best and safest equipment that we can provide them. I do note that we tend to be really good also at hand-me-downs, if I can say that. So you notice like the Q&A's in Bloom truck tends to be an old trail truck, right? Doesn't get used that often, but it's not having the daily use, but it can help out them. We noticed that the airport's another place. Hey, we don't need this small little kind of thing, tractor for cleaning. You guys only use it for a few months in the winter, we'll help you out. We don't lose a ton on that. We kind of extend it out to other people. And I think as Mr. Grizzly Jones has spoken to was refitted the one truck to be able to also do pothole patching. Anyway, I'm gonna move on. So, now here's the next one here, and again, it's a bit busy, but so bear with me on this. You can see sort of where our opening balance was for 2023, what we expected capital expenditure wise in 2023 at 4.67 million. Looks like we're coming in at 2.2, so obviously that increases what the ending closing balance is for 2023 on our projected actuals. And then it obviously becomes the opening balance for 2024. But we also just really jumped up on capital that we're getting carried forward to the next year. So in the same way, we've got our capital projects reserve allocation from council. We've got our grants that are in there, but you can see very quickly that, not too far off in 2023, what we expected. The ending balance, if we had spent it, would have been, $1,033,000. We're at what, 980 doing that. But you will see in 2025, based on what we're looking at, that we need to borrow from general surplus about $2 million in 2025 and another 1.5 in 2026. And you can see that when we get to 2028, we'll start paying that back. And it's totally okay to borrow from other reserves or surpluses. That's totally allowed inside the municipal government funding. But I also know that as we go there, it tends to be something that when we get closer to those things happening, we don't always have all the projects, so it's not usually as much pressure on there, much like we were expecting to spend, 4.7 million, we're at 2. So that's sometimes the way that the reserves kind of bounce around. But I also want to be clear, we'll look at that on our almost last slide, is that almost the same, a little bit higher this year, but almost the same number that we talked about last year for borrowing from reserve when we were looking at it last year. So again, down below, you can see, kind of a more aggregate grouping. And again, remembering if this isn't matching all of what was on the 5-year capital, because you have things like for example, the equipment reserve is not in here because it's not being funded by capital reserve. The cemetery would not be in this listing because it's being funded by other sources. So if you're trying to do the math, you wouldn't go, hey, wait a second, I thought you said we were at X. It's like, no, this is Y. Anyway, you can see we've got some cost pressures in 2024, 2025, but that's not something that council's sort of has also seen, whether or not it's in here or it's in the water fund. So we will continue to work on that. But feeling very comfortable that we have the funds, the grants, and the big capital year 2025, and we'll have money left over in the reserve. So that's what you really want to focus on. And then we'll be at 2025 next year. We'll have to figure out what prioritizing and what needs to be done, or if there's other grants that are available. But kind of just giving you a sense of what's happening. In the same boat, I'm quite sure when we get to 27, 28, and 29, these numbers will likely either get pushed or there'll be something new coming along. So anyway, it's expensive to operate and maintain a municipality. And then the last one I wanted to show, because it could be something that helps us, and it's a community works fund, because it funded, obviously, in the current year, Butler Park. So that was where council had directed that funding to go to. A majority of funding account. We also had obviously gotten a grant from CBT to get the Butler Park lights and dugouts done. But you also still waiting on what the province's allocation is. So right now I know that it's supposed to be this 415 amount in 2024, but once they sign the agreement, I think there's probably some inflation. I expect that some of these things will likely jump up. But I've kind of carried out what I know today for the semi-annual grant in this one. And then we had committed in our water fund to be using that water fund to use Community Works Fund to help us take the pressure off of the capital requests in water. So that's why you're seeing that that 415 going out into water ongoing. But we do have a pretty healthy balance in it. So it might be something that we look at in the next while, say next year, when we've got some of this pressure, say, I don't want to take it from surplus. Why don't we use one of these projects to use Community Works Fund? One of the things that can be a challenge is that when you have a bigger project like that, is that they don't like grant stacking. So if you've already gotten the grant for the grant recovery, it's already come from the feds and the province. They don't like it to say, well, how are you paying for this? It's like, well, I'll take my gas tax funding and add it to that, right? They're like, well, wait a second, now you guys aren't paying for anything. But there is always other things that we can spend it on, whether it's playgrounds, there's all kinds of other items. I just want to let you, to be clear that we still got some funding sources in the background in there. So that, and it's also good for, maybe something to say, hey, what, next year in water, maybe we use another 500,000 out of this and takes the pressure off of what's happening in the project. And then just my last slide on this particular one was just the capital, just to show you that last year when we were doing it, I know it was late in the year, but again, not uncommon to see 2023, 2024, bigger numbers, 2025 to start to drop off. And then down at the bottom, you can see that row 53 on that one says the general surplus. So we were going to borrow, not quite $3 million even last year when we were looking at this, and we knew that, hey, we're trying to tackle 2023, which we did. And so but I think that this will be maybe something that continues to move out, but as we get more successful, I think, and strengthen our bench on management, hopefully we're able to get some grants and really focus on what's the organization. That was all for that document. And so again, part of it for me is I know there's a lot of numbers, but if it's sort of something, like I said, just realizing the focus is on 2023 and it's funded. Feel very comfortable about that. Yes, 2025 in other words, there's some pressures, but we have different pockets of funding, so I'm not concerned when we get there. But if council's comfortable with this, that again allows me to start to build the financial plan document and be able to also get ready to speak to the public and kind of say, hey, it's, you know, again, I'm sure I would go over all of this, but I would kind of maybe pick out the highlights that we talked about what's happening in the next few years, and when we have a presentation to the public. These are all awake, so I do appreciate that.
I think Nick might have been closing his eyes.
It's called meditation, focusing on the numbers.
Processing.
He's wondering why he hasn't had me back.
You're not getting a new hybrid for.
No, thank you, Mr. McClure, that was very well
Thank you.
detailed.
Well, I thank you
That was great.
to both Mr. Warren and Mr. Jones for joining us today, and like I said, just progressing and getting people into place and being able to speak to council on the areas they're responsible for is gonna be key for me, so I would hope as we get into getting through this tougher time of budget and year end and audit, the auditors are here or started today kind of thing, so there's a lot of pressure going on, but I would hope that we can have more getting informal GOC meetings with our managers and get to know them and then find out what's happening with the project. So almost like, hey, we got a half year, or tell me what's happening in September. How are you doing on some of these projects? And so I would hope that we can have those conversations and keep that separate.
It's a great idea. Yeah.
Cause you guys love to see it.
Well, it's important too,
What
because
do you guys think about that? Happy to hear.
well, I think it is
No
important
pressure,
too.
right?
Like when you raise that, here's something I'm hearing in the community, that the walking traffic is something that we should look at, right? That's again, puts it on the radar of the managers, and it's always, like I said, we always get these feeds coming in saying, hey, we've got this grant coming, or this might work, and you got that in your head as a manager's thing, allows us to be able to react and say.
And sometimes there's grant funding in places that we don't know is there,
Agreed.
and strange places that we're not necessarily looking for grant funding, that just like, okay, that might fit, how do we get that?
That's all for me, I think.
That's it.
Yes.
Well,
that's
thank
it,
you
yes.
so much. Thank you very much. That
Thanks,
was
Colin.
great.
Again, so not hearing anybody again, kind of against where I've, okay, so I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna then work on getting everything ready for a public presentation and looking at the one thing that's a bit tricky this year, as I was looking at the dates, and so I'm not 100% sure how we will do that. The province is quite clear. They sent us a letter saying that, because the 15th is, I think it's a Wednesday or a Wednesday. And so you have to have a full day in between, so you can't, you would have to approve the 5-year financial plan and tax rate bylaw on the 13th in order to get it for the 15th. So then we've got kind of a gap there. So I don't really want to have a special council meeting, so I'm gonna try to see what we might be pushing this up to the April meeting and have the 5-year financial plan come in there. But I don't know if with the audit and everything's going on right now, I felt able to pull it off, so I may ask for a special meeting just to have first 3 readings of the financial plan and the tax rate bylaw in between that gap, so whether or not that's that first week of May, might be one we'll do it, but
Okay, we'll be holding our breath.
yes.
Just want us to be there.
Well,
It'll be a grand event.
no, but I was saying we would do what I say.
The week, yeah.
Yes, we wouldn't interfere with service fee days.
Okay, you
but
can,
we
you
certainly-
can make it as part of, like, we'll add it to the schedule of events.
Good to know. We can all go to the food vendors and have the meeting there.
Yes.
Great. Get a ride in.
On the stage.
Thank you, everyone, for that, very interesting
Thank you.
conversation.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the grants and aids. Tonight, we have 4 different grants and aid requests, and the first one is the Greater Trail Hospice Society request for cash. So I'm get there, thank you. So we have, the Hospice Society has applied for a $5,000 grant. Is there anyone that wants to make that motion or Counselor
I'll
Wilson
make a motion.
for the $5,000 grant? Okay, is there a seconder? Counselor Cashel? Any questions or comments on that amount? Counselor
I
Butler?
confirm the city of Trail will be receiving recognition for the contribution.
I'm unaware if there's a recognition component,
I
that's,
think I read there, what I just wanted to,
I didn't know, I'm seeing, so.
I didn't see that in there either.
in the last box.
They'll be recommended in the room themselves and on our website.
No, it is, sort of
Yeah.
an IH sort of,
Yeah.
thing, right? So it's a bit interesting, and they're also very successful with council at their CIP events, so just something to consider. Because you are gonna have others that are gonna come looking for grants that didn't come to ready grants or.
Yeah, do we know if, cause is the foundation sponsoring a portion of this as well, or donating?
I'm unaware if they are, possibly.
So the motion on the floor is for $5,000 for the Greater Trail Hospice Society. And it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Carried unanimously, or no, carried, sorry, it wasn't, it wasn't unanimously, it was carried. Do you want the numbers?
No, that's fine.
Okay. And the next item on the agenda is the United Way of British Columbia request for cash grant and prize donation. I need that. Is there someone that wants to make, sorry, Counselor Benson and Counselor Wilson? All those in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you.
But, are there, it was for a prize donation as
1,000.
well. So is there a particular prize donation?
Is there historical?
Typically, we've done it in the past, not for this group, I don't recall, but, we've done like a couple passes at a 3-month pass at the aquatic center.
Like that, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, one of those?
Thank you, Sandy, for catching that. So, and we already moved that was unanimous. The next one is the J. Crow Secondary Grad Class of 2024, the committee. The request is for a rental waiver and a prize donation. Counselor Hanson and Counselor Wilson. Any questions or comments on that before we move forward with the vote?
Prize donations on those, they'd be the houses as well.
I think that the prize donation is a moot, at this point because the event has happened.
Oh,
It was a Valentine's Day dance, but we had,
fair enough.
we had set aside the application to encompass their June events as well, and we also had to secure their agreement to participate, to volunteer at Silver City Day, so it's premature to bring an application before you before February.
Okay. So that was carried unanimously as well. The next item is the Pacific Coastal Airlines request for grant in cash and grant. And the motion, sorry, I'm just moving to the motion here. The amount is to be decided by council. Is there anyone that wants to make a motion or Counselor Butler? Are you making a motion for an amount or just moving it forward?
Moving it forward, but I could put, if you like, I put $2,000 on. That's $3 amount.
Okay, is there a seconder, Counselor Wilson? Okay. So, is there any questions or comments? I have a question, I have a comment on that because I know that this has come up previously in council. And the concern was that, none of the prizes or the money was staying in the community. It's all in, I believe it's down in the Lower Mainland, it's up in Powell River, Victoria and Vancouver. I'm just a little bit concerned that we aren't keeping the money local that we are donating, because the grant and aid money does come out of the taxpayers' account. So I just wanted to make sure that council is aware of that the money is not staying here.
Just a
So for
correction
those
there, though.
reasons, sorry,
It's just Vancouver. The other communities that you mentioned, it's not going there. I'm not sure where you're getting that from.
okay,
Those are other airport authorities and other towns that are donating to the golf tournament.
okay. I thought that some of the money was going to
No,
each of those.
and
airports.
I think also just to remind council that it was suggested in 2020 that Pacific Coastal move their golf tournament trail, which I think is a bit of a far-reaching ask for them to move their tournament to trail to Davidson. So that's my recollection of why we've been turned down.
Councilor Martin,
Do we know of other communities where they service support their application for the cash grant?
Yeah, the ones that Mayor Johnson mentioned.
Okay, so that's already, okay, thank you.
Vancouver Airport Authority, different cities, Nanaimo Airport Commission, different cities are sponsoring different things, Comox Valley.
Okay, thanks.
So historically, we've been giving, it looks like $1,000 to that. And maybe kind of about it, you wanna, I know that, you know, we're trying to develop that relationship with the
Yeah.
coastal, maybe if you could speak to
Sure.
sort of supporting why you're asking
Yeah,
for the
so
extra.
if you go on to Pacific Coastal website right now, they have a list of sponsorships. The one that has not been taken is the transportation sponsorship, which is $2,000. Everything else right now at this point, because we're a bit late to the game, has been taken, looking for.
So that we can be tagged on that, then?
Yes, so the all-in ones were the $1,000 sponsorship, which was usually what the city was doing, but those have all 18 of them, I guess, have been taken back.
Councilor
Thank
Benson.
you, Councillor.
Yeah, so just to, it says in their letter that the funds raised to provide financial support to two BC-based charities as well as 3 scholarships. So this is one where it goes to Powell River and Power to Be in Victoria, Vancouver,
The funds raised. From
from the tournament.
And then scholarships to the Aviation Council.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so the motion is on the table is for $2,000 to Pacific Coastal Airlines, request for grant or cash grant. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's carried. Okay, and this is just coming in from the Siniacs Confederacy training on April 26th. Is the city able to assist with funding for this event?
They're looking for a $500 donation towards the event.
Don't know we're going to.
Yes.
Is
To
this
pay,
going to their Caldwell offices or will it be going to?
it's to support the actual meeting, for food
Or to the
and,
Caldwell?
yeah.
It's for the catering. The
Yes.
city of Nelson and Castlegar have each given $500.
Has that motion been made?
No.
I'll put that motion. I'll
The
carry it.
motion for $5,000 cash to the.
500.
500.
100?
500.
500, no, yeah, not 5,000. Okay, yes, for $500, thanks for that catch.
I'll second.
Counselor Benson, Counselor Cashel and Counselor Benson. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Go back to the vote.
So we will, we didn't actually make the motion to table the, vote for the, committee appointments to the official community plan. But we will bring it back to the table for that vote. And I'll hand it over to Ms. Butler again to carry out that process.
Thank you. First of all, I want to apologize for putting this forward the way we did. I had no idea that it would be such a highly sought after position, so I do apologize for the mess. So I'm gonna hand these out to everybody. We have the 4 people that have been nominated. Please select only 2, fold it in half or 4, and then we'll come by and collect it. Please keep this confidential to yourself. So your and so I really do apologize.
Apology accepted, Ms. Butler.
Yes. I've learned my lesson.
Thank you.
Get my steps in.
Thank you. Just forget about that copy of that.
Too late, Diane.
No. I'm just kidding. Right, any.
Look how loud that salsa maker is.
I know, and it's always Doug.
It is, yeah.
Whenever it is, I was like. That is.
Tried to put my hands over it one time to try to find out the sound.
Keep it
It's
quiet.
super loud.
Yeah.
Well, I make a motion that you don't, you know.
I'd like to proclaim.
Yeah.
No coffee?
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for working through that process with us. So we have, council has, appointed, Councillor Benson and Councillor Hanson. So a motion to discard the ballots.
Oh.
And then a motion, please, to appoint those 2.
Okay, so can we have a motion to appoint Councillor Benson and Councillor Hanson to the, official community planning committee?
Tell me that.
Okay, Councillor Butler and Councillor, Wilson. All those in favor? Okay, carried unanimously. Thanks, everyone. So, I just need a resolution to adjourn the Governance and Operations Committee portion of the meeting and immediately resolve into in-camera meeting pursuant to section 91 C, K, and L of the Community Charter. Councillor Cashel and Councillor Wilson. Thank you. Does anybody need a break? Okay.